Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Listen, I got a special guest today, and look, he comes all the way. You're not in Norman, Oklahoma, right? You're in.
I'm in Oklahoma City, so I'm close enough.
He's all the way from Oklahoma City, and look, you guys already know, man. Oklahoma, USC. Ever since Lincoln Riley left, it's kind of been somewhat of a tension, but I don't have tension with this guy. I consider him a friend. He invited me. For those who don't know, he's actually invited me. When was that? Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last summer. We was kind of talking about how things were going on both sides and with the new changes, regime changes, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we chopped it up last summer. So it was a good time, man, and I'm definitely going to bring you back on. We're going to talk about everything leading into next season, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is Jay, correct?
Yes, sir. Jay Smith, Unfair Sports, man. What's good?
This is Jay Smith from Unfair Sports. Wow, we got 41. They just jumped on here quick. Hey, we got Jay from Unfair Sports out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He's a big-time Oklahoma podcaster. You got where you at now, man? 9,000, 10,000? Where you at now?
About 9,200, about 9,000. So we're trying to get to 10 by the end of the summer, baby.
About 9,000 subscribers. And look, man, he does some detail. He does his homework, man. And we trying to find out about this Taylor thing. And me and him been kind of conversating the past couple of days. Matter of fact, he did a video the other day, and I had a video the other day, and I referenced Taylor Tatum. And I actually, when I said, look, I got a buddy that's an Oklahoma podcaster, I was actually referencing him, just because we exchange information. We want to know what's what. And both of our teams are involved with this. And so I think it's very important just to lay everything out. We're going to talk about a timeline real quick. And we're talking about no other than Taylor Tatum. He is a big 4-star prospect, number 1 running back in the country. And it's straight up go time with him, man. And whoever gets Taylor Tatum, they're getting a big time player, man. Jay, your initial thoughts on what you think about Taylor Tatum?
Man, no, he's a home run, man. And I say that literally and figuratively. And the reason why I say that is, as me and you had discussed about his recruitment and how things were going, the thing that jumped out to me is as I was doing research and asking questions around is really how important baseball is to him. Like, he's big in baseball. Like, baseball is almost like, I put it to you like this. The way it seems is that he's a baseball player that moonlights on the football field. That's how his life is. And so because of that, man, that's been a huge aspect of his recruiting with everybody he's gone to. And so when I saw the initial crystal balls of Tatum going to USC, it kind of made sense to me. I'm like, okay, they got Deuce Robinson, who potentially will maybe play baseball there at USC if he doesn't go to the majors. And then, you bring in Tatum, they can team up on the baseball field and, of course, on the football field also. And then as things was progressing, and Lincoln Riley has experience with a player playing 2 sports. And then, of course, here at Oklahoma, we have the exact same experience because, the bigger thing is that with football, because football is king. We know football's king in America, period. Football, college and NFL.
Absolutely.
That schedule doesn't change. That regimen is consistent. It doesn't change. It's the most important one. And so the baseball coaches are the ones that have to adjust their timelines with how to integrate players back in. And so when everything started going down the line and now we're seeing like 8 bajillion predictions, crystal balls, future casts, and all of that jazz going out for Tatum coming to Oklahoma, I think that was one of the bigger play. It was really about, the baseball aspect and being able to do the 2-sport thing and having experience doing it. So I wouldn't have been shocked if you went to USC specifically because of that. Having experience with Lincoln Riley, knowing how to do that back and forth, having a player play 2 sports. Hell, doing that with Kyler to me was the biggest lift I'd probably ever seen in sports because he's a quarterback, and that's such a critical position. It's so important to have your quarterback there in the locker room on a regular basis. Him being able to do that, study film while play baseball. Of course, Kyler's a world-class athlete. That to me told me, okay, they have the experience, they can handle it. And so overall, it's looking like a big lean towards Oklahoma. Every insider from Texas to Michigan and everybody's starting to put it this direction. And we'll see once the commitment comes down the line. I don't count my eggs before they are hatched. Count my chickens before they're hatched. I want to see if it, comes down the line perfectly. But that was really the big thing. The recruiting was really big when it came to the baseball side. And that to me was like, wow, I didn't realize he was that much of a baseball player.
Man, you're right. You're right about the baseball thing. And my initial thoughts when we got him, because I think we got Anthony Lucas, who came from Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
He's a baseball guy. Mario Williams is a baseball guy. Of course, Deuce Robinson's a baseball guy. So to me, in my opinion, it was an instant love affair with the baseball team at USC as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're gonna talk about a little bit about the timeline, because the timeline. I think June 6th is when On3 Scott Schrader put out the crystal ball. I believe that's what it was for Taylor
Yeah.
Tatum to USC. Then I've seen several guys put it out for 24/7 Sports as well. And then not only that, I've heard a couple of things in my area, some things that were put in my ear as far as him being, like a silent commit, and which is very well possible. But, like I tell anybody, anything's possible when you're talking about recruiting, man. I mean, things can change instantaneously. And so, so let's go through this timeline. So he took a recruiting trip to USC. And after the recruiting trip, I mean, you start hearing comments from him. I mean, you start hearing comments as far as, and we will talk about this as well, as how he sees himself fitting in the Lincoln Riley offense, how explosive it is and how dynamic it is, how creative it is. And, that was an instant lock. All the crystal balls came out. Boom. What's your thoughts on that initial when you seen that? And, of course, the Michigan trip was canceled. What's your initial thoughts when you seen just that portion? And then we get into your portion as well.
Yeah. We'll talk about Michigan and that cancellation a little bit later. I think that's probably at the end where we started to really figure out where he was going to make his decision. But when he went to USC and was like, yeah, I can see myself in this, I mean, it made sense. I mean, I saw Travis Dye there last season, and dude was a monster. He's pretty explosive coming down from Oregon and playing there for Kill McDonald. It looked like Tatum would fit exactly what you all were doing. And the best part about it is that with Raleek Brown there also, Tatum can come in as a second running back in there, even with other running backs you guys have on the roster. But the bigger thing with Tatum is that because he's a two-sport athlete, he's not going to be your every down back. He's a running back that will come in and he will be like the hot hand. You know what I'm saying? So if his hand is hot at the time, he's probably going to be the every down back at the moment, but it will be one of those situations where Riley can use him. I mean, heck, I was wondering, honestly, about you all picking up another big back and having like the Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon type setup, which worked
actually we got Brandon Jackson out of McKinney, Texas. Yeah, it's like 235, exactly. 240 pounds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect. Another Lindell White, Reggie Bush type setup. Yeah. So
that's kind of what I equated to that combination too. When those two coming into the class, I equated them to Lindell White, Reggie Bush, and so that was But go ahead.
Yeah. But so seeing that, it made sense that was his lean. I'm like, yeah, I can see it. Bringing in a big back, having him Thunder Lightning set up. Perfect. He has that type of capabilities. And like I mentioned, the two-sport portion always jumps out because we know where his focus is truly going to be, but he's going to be out there and just be athletic and explosive as needed. And then as that timeline came, after he left, I heard the rumor of him being a silent also. And then, he continued his visits, which, I appreciate if, when players, decide to do their visits, but not commit and, make their visits, because that's kind of like the system here. And I'll explain that a little bit later as well. But makes his visit, comes, then he makes it up to Oklahoma. And that's kind of when things start to look different. Because when he got here, I was excited just that he was coming into town, to be honest. I mean, he's out of Longview, Texas. So he's from a territory we recruit on a regular basis. Oklahoma gets a lot of Texas players just because Texas has a surplus of human beings, just like California does. And so him coming to Oklahoma, I was like, okay, DeMarco Murray is able to bring in, a nice one of the top running back in the country. It's pretty dope. That's just, a good thing if you even have interest. That means that you're doing something right. And as the weekend progressed, honestly, Monday after the visit, I was like, oh yeah, he's probably going to USC. He enjoyed himself. He liked it, but he was like, I'm gonna go there.
Can you reiterate that and clarify that? Because it's like things all of a sudden, like right before our eyes, are kind of changing. And even you guys as Oklahoma fans, hey, shout out to Eddie. Thank you for becoming a member, man. All those who are becoming members, hey, Black, thank you for becoming a member as well, man. All those who desire to become members to this channel. But can you reiterate that, because that kind of speaks to how things are changing, because some of the things that were put in my ear as far as the silent commitment, and then the crystal balls coming from like Scott Schrader and then 24/7 Sports, and you guys as well were already thinking that. And then you said Monday.
So Monday, I saw, when once basically Champion Barbecue Weekend ended, which is the really big event that Oklahoma puts on, one of the two events they put on in the summertime to bring a bunch of recruits together, let them get to know each other and try to build that camaraderie and relationship. And so, Monday come, I'm like, oh yeah, he's probably gonna go to USC. Makes sense, It it looks like he had a good time. All the reports were that he enjoyed himself. He met some folks, made some good friends, all that jazz. And then I started seeing some crystal balls for another running back that DeMarco Murray's going after, Caden Durham, out of Duncanville, Texas. The burner, he runs like a 10-4-40, 10-400 in track in Texas. And so he's been placing in the Texas route for track and field. And so, I was like, okay, we're going to get the burner, which will be dope. I've seen these crystal balls come down the line. He's also really good friends with David Stone, who's one of the top defensive linemen in the country. And so I was like, all right, that's probably the direction we're going to end up going. Well, then that night, I saw a tweet from the baseball coach, Skip Johnson, for Oklahoma. And he's like, looky here. That's one of his deals whenever he's got someone committing.
Right. And we throw up the fight. We put up the fight on emoji. And so for Oklahoma, that's kind of the thing is what he says is looky here.
Yeah. That's Skip Johnson. That's the baseball coach. That's what the baseball coach does. He'll do looky here. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, looks like they got a guy that's going to play baseball. And then we saw it come down the line, linebacker James Nest out of North Carolina, who's also a right-handed pitcher that throws over 95 miles an hour. He's like one of the top pitchers in the country in baseball. Two-sport guy. And I was like, okay, cool. That's dope. You got your two sport guys coming through. Makes sense. And he got him, and then he did it a second time. So he had two looky here's. It's like, oh, there's another player that's of potential. And then Tuesday, the firestorm happened. The Michigan report came out that he's no longer taking that visit. He canceled that visit. And then from there, you started to see little pop-ups of, all right, switching my crystal ball, switching my prediction, switching my future cast. You start seeing those changes fast. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm making some calls, shooting a couple messages. And then when you shot me a screenshot you saw on a message board. I was like, oh, I think Skip may have got him to want to come to Oklahoma because of breaking down exactly how he can play both sports. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And that's what told me how important baseball was to him. Like, coming here to play football, we've put out some really good running backs over the last 20 years. We all know that. USC as well. We're probably two of the schools that have put out probably some of the most dynamic running backs in, even in the NFL, and college football. Right. So we've seen that. That's no question. But when I saw the baseball coach really in his integration, I was like, oh, okay, this dude really wants to do two sports. Like, baseball is really that important to him. Baseball is life. He's going to end up at Oklahoma. And now we're just waiting. Timeline-wise, I saw somebody ask the question, what is the timeline for his decision? I've heard between now and after the 4th. So it's just based upon his decision. But because he canceled other OVs, I'm expecting this weekend.
Man, it's kind of seeming like it's going in that direction. And so we talked about the timeline with us as far as the recruiting, and so he came to you guys, and so I guess one of the things that from your realistic approach, where do you see it at? As far as, do you see it more so as a 50-50, or do you see it more as a 70-30, or do you see it like as an 80-20? Where exactly he is with his actual announcement? Because here's how I see it. It appears to me that it could possibly be, and like I said, for those who are just coming on, this is Jay from Unfair Sports. He about 9,000 subscribers. He's based in Oklahoma City. He does a phenomenal job. He had me on his show last year, and really enjoyed myself. We reviewed, I can't remember, it might have been noted, one of those games we reviewed, but he had me on there, and he did an awesome job. And so he has inside information as to Oklahoma. He's right there. He knows what's going on. And he gave us his timeline. And so where do you see it at, as far as you see it as a 50-50, or where do you see it? Because it appears to be like a guy right now who's really stuck in between. And I want to talk about, you mentioned DeMarco Murray, because I've heard that his dad is very, very tight with DeMarco Murray. I think I even heard that he's even like best friends or something. I can't remember where I heard it from, but at the same time, I realized that he loves USC and he loves the dynamics of the offense. And so how do you see it? Do you see it more so as a 50-50, but where you see it at, or a guy that's really deciding right now what he wants to do?
Honestly, I'm about 95-5 on him committing to Oklahoma. It just with all the insiders, the assumption that I have is, and this isn't anything insider, this is just reading most of the tea leaves, it looks like he's made phone calls and told teams he's not coming. And usually when you see a whole bunch of random schools put in at this player is going to this school, it's usually because they're going to go there and they've already told people that they know that they're close to that they're going. So like the Texas Insider put in a prediction for Oklahoma. Michigan did the same thing. I'm just waiting to see if the USC guy decides to flip his. But a lot of the national guys have already put theirs in saying, oh, it's there. So I'm about 95-5. Now, I mean, am I saying that there's not a fighting chance for USC? No pun intended. I'm going to say, yes, there is. You know, that's not reason for me to actually pretend like there isn't. Until someone signs on the line, which is dotted, there's nothing you can truly say. It's a definitive. I mean, we've seen players flip in a lot of capacities. And so I'm going to say that I'm pretty confident that it is. And yes, as Logan mentioned in here, I'm 100% biased. Yes, I am biased of Oklahoma. Yeah, I covered them. So kind of, yeah, but I'm not throwing any shade at USC. As me and Jay talk all the time. Jay and Jay, we talk often, and he knows I don't throw shade at USC.
Let me say this, but there's some who coming on. We got 154 people in here right now.
Hey,
and those who are just coming in, this is Jay from Unfair Sports, based out of Oklahoma City, and he covers primarily Oklahoma, but he covers everything. And at the same time, he had me on last year. And we both realized that Oklahoma USC fans, they got a little beef going on. But Jay is not one of those guys I have a beef with. Like I said, I'm very appreciative of him inviting me on his show. And but he talks real football, and you're gonna have a slight bias, but he gives you absolute facts. And so I can definitely appreciate him for that. Okay, you can go ahead, Jay. Hey, shout out to Bernardo. Bernardo, hey, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you.
Yeah, man. No. And for me, the bigger thing when it comes to, just even like I said, recruiting and all of this stuff, man, I want to see, USC be successful. I enjoyed the Pete Carroll era. You know what I'm saying? Even if with the 55-19 jokes in here, yeah, sure. Y'all beat the crap out of us. I have no shade on that whatsoever. I enjoyed the Reggie Bush era. I'm a big college football fan. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to sit here and just, act like I don't enjoy the game. I love the game. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. The potential's awesome. And then when they go to the NFL, you just hope that they get to the right team and don't get destroyed by an awful front office. Like, I hate that Bush ended up in Detroit and New Orleans. It's just like, man, he was ahead of his time. But I digress.
Yeah.
Looking at the timelines and stuff, and looking at the tea leaves, I read more tea leaves than anything. I'm cool with the sources and people giving you like insider info, but man, everybody can change their mind at any time. And so for me, I read the tea leaves. I look at the way people move, and hopefully they move in the direction that it looks like they're going to me. And so that's why I'm at 95-5. I'm only going to give it 5% left because more and more of these are pouring in. And so it sounds like a decision is imminent. And so once we actually see him say, this is where I'm going to go, that's only time you're going to know. But I'm not saying that, I put it to you like this. I think this is the biggest thing for me when it comes to even USC recruiting. Y'all had a really good June. And the way that Riley moves when it comes to the recruiting piece, June is when you start to see the ramp. In July, it's going to pick up. So,
absolutely.
We talked about this before, USCJ. You're going to be busy as hell for like the next 2 months. It's going to be bananas up until the season goes because all these players are going to come through.
These past couple of weeks, I mean, I don't know if you know it, we've been landing you probably been seeing some of it, but we've been landing like crazy amount of guys, man. It's been crazy. We started off, we only had like 2 or 3 commits around March, April. Then all of a sudden, now we're up to like 12 commits. It's been crazy. Mostly 4 stars, man. So yeah, you're absolutely correct about that.
So Blackie, this is a very good question. So my initial thoughts on Lincoln Riley leaving was this: it made sense because when I saw the reports that LSU was pursuing him hard, and OU was planning on going to the SEC, I was like, he's not going to LSU. He wouldn't want to deal with that. If he's going to go somewhere, he's going to go somewhere with stable leadership, and that's basically your AD, right? It's going to be an important you got to have a good AD in order to do it. And at the time, y'all were kind of going through some things, but then y'all got rid of Swan and y'all started to make some changes. I was like, and then when USC came up, I was like, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. They're going to throw a buttload of money at him. They're going to give him the resources he needs, just like he was getting at Oklahoma, but he's going to get a different type of resource from a private school. And a lot of the players that Riley was recruiting was out of California. They fit his mold, of what he's doing at offense.
You make an excellent point. A lot of people, even DeMarco Murray, was he on the rally? He wasn't on the rally, but was he on the rally?
No, he was a Stoops boy, but he coached under Riley. Yes,
that's right. But what's the other guy? Out of Northern California, plays for the Bengals. He's from California. Running back.
Mixon? Joe Mixon. Yeah, Joe Mixon. Yes.
Yeah, Joe Mixon. See, Coach Riley has always hit the California scene, but now, and you're making a great point. He's always recruited, but now, and you mentioned that you understand the move, and it was throwing no shade. I was not throwing no shade. Oklahoma fans think I'm throwing shade, but I just said that the dynamics of where he's at location-wise, and we're starting to see it now as it relates to recruiting and not really having to leave a certain proximity area, and it just made more sense. And it wasn't the Oklahoma's a blue blood program. I only, as far as I know, you've only got about 8 of those real blue blood programs. Oklahoma's one of them. So that wasn't throwing no shade at Oklahoma. It was just we got some Oklahoma fans in here. Let's get it.
What up?
You might know him, but so it was just more so the dynamics of where he was at, able to recruit, and the resources as far as entertainment wise, capital of the year of the world. So that's what it was, and you understood that dynamic, right?
Yeah, no, it made 100% sense for him to go, like I said there, and it's a rarity to see a coach leave one blue blood program and go to another. Right. It's a rarity, but it's not, unheard of. I mean, I wouldn't. In a way, you have to consider Florida a blue blood. But then Urban Meyer bounced out and went to Ohio State. Now, the big difference between the Urban Meyer move to Ohio State from Florida and Riley going from Oklahoma to USC is that Riley wasn't leaving in scandal. Like, there wasn't a whole bunch of stuff coming down the line that's going to get everybody fired. He went ahead and said, you know what? Change the scenery. I've been to the playoff 3 times. I haven't figured out the way to get the players I need in this area like Bob Stoops was able to do and be successful. I'm going to go try it in another spot. And USC's like, we need a splash hire. You guys had Clay Helton. Let me put it to you like this, USC fans. Clay Helton was a fantastic recruiter. That man could not coach to save his life. And all of you have said this. I've read a lot of y'all's message boards and how y'all went at him. But Clay could bring in athletes. He could bring in players.
Hey, let me say something real quick to your point. And I brought this up. Fox Sports put out most 5-stars since 2015. Do you not since 2015? And people don't realize this. USC is on. It's a top 5, I think. They had Oklahoma. I think they had Oklahoma in there. They had LSU. They had Alabama, Ohio State, and they had a few. USC was included in that most 5-stars since 2015, but you would have never known that based on the results on the field.
Yeah, exactly, and it's what it is, and it's funny because I've had a few people in here who was talking about being a fan of the game. That's exactly what I am. I've always appreciated, and I do miss Miami being really really good because Miami is funny. The funny part to me is Grateful Trojan over here saying Oklahoma can go the path of Nebraska quickly. That's actually impossible. If you want me to be truly honest, the path of Nebraska is that their entire pipeline that Tom Osborne used to be successful at Nebraska was through Texas. And the easy way to sell a kid to come to Nebraska out of Texas is that I'm going to play in Texas at least 3 or 4 times a year.
Right.
They never go to, there's no reason for Nebraska to ever go to Texas unless they can find a non-conference game. And so Oklahoma, everybody they're going to play is in the SEC. They're going to recruit the entire SEC like we've been doing for the last 40 years.
We're going to talk about that too. I want to get on that.
We'll get on that a little bit later because the Big Ten is going to be fun for USC because you all are going to be able to really get kids to go to some pretty cool places. But anyway, Clay Helton himself, that was the biggest problem you guys had, is that everybody was trying to put faith in him and he wasn't that. Honestly, I kind of hoped y'all would have just gave it to Ed Ogeron for a couple years. That man could recruit and he could rile people up.
Our fans were absolutely, they were, you know, they want him to come on staff now. But, you know, they wanted him. They thought about it, but, you know.
And thank you, Ryan.
You know,
thanks for 20 to USGJ. That's awesome.
Yeah, let me say, Ryan, I appreciate it. And for those who are just coming on, this is Jay. My computer's down. I'm lost in the sauce. I can't do my comments like I normally do.
I'll drop a comment right now.
Can on your comment, can you put, he is from Unfair Sports. He does a phenomenal job on his channel. 9,000 subscribers, and you can see why. You see how he's very knowledgeable. His name is Jay from Unfair Sports. So, with that being said, so where were we at? I just lost my train of thought.
It's all right, man. It's all right. No, we kind of talking about like the USC ascension and the change of Lincoln Riley, why he left and whatnot. And so for me, and I'll keep it a buck for you all. When it came to Lincoln deciding to leave, I was sad, of course, because I mean he's a top tier coach. I mean he's a top 10 coach in his country. Period. Easily, he can't even fight for top 5. Offensive guys, he's top 2, and I don't think he's number 2. But I felt like he felt like a change of scenery can make things better for both. And the good thing for you all is that he already had a quarterback in line to take with him. Like I'm a keep it a buck. If he would have brought Spencer Rattler with you all,
no way.
Y'all wasn't gonna be 11-3. Bringing Caleb was Lincoln Riley perfect, because that's the thing that he's always been fantastic with, is that he'll find a generational quarterback either via transfer, which Caleb is his first true recruit that's generational. He brings them in, he puts the keys in their hands, and they make the magic happen. And his system is so perfectly built to make it to where a quarterback can walk in and easily excel. You don't have to do much with a athlete like Caleb Williams. You just say, hey, here's your looks, here's your reads. Lincoln has an NFL mind. And the good thing is he doesn't run an NFL offense. That's the problem that Alabama had this past year with Bryce Young and having Bill O'Brien there, is that he's running an NFL offense and the receivers are basically confused the whole game, and the quarterback's trying to figure out where his receivers are going to go because they're confused. So let me pull off of that. I felt like with Riley going, it was a good change of scenery for both. And so for us, we're bringing in, we had a lot of turnover. Like we did the calculations, about 80% of the roster's gone from when Lincoln, from the last 4 years. We just saw it with relief. You know what I'm saying? And for you all, y'all did a lot of changes, but you guys lived more in the portal than we did. And so now we're seeing a massive influx of players that are built for the defense we're trying to build. And that's what we're going after. And so if we can get ourselves into a top 40 defense, we'll be right back at what Oklahoma used to be.
That's what, and that's kind of where I'm at, man. I mean, if, we know that Lincoln Riley's offense has been so dynamic throughout the years. And if we could just maintain, I'm looking at the defensive players we got now. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of these guys that we recruiting. And we always said top 40, top 30, man. I mean, I think we can win a championship just even having that. If we just at least top 30, top 40, I mean, we don't have to, but being 120, whatever, that's not going to get it done, man. But so we touched on Taylor Tatum. We touched on the Lincoln Riley move. Now, man, both of us. Go ahead.
Real quick. We were talking about this in the green room before we got on, and you were kind of asking me about 24/7's rating system and why Taylor Tatum is the number one running back in the country isn't a 5-star. Well, the way 24/7 does, and I think all of the recruiting sites are doing this now, they're going to be doing this moving forward. They all only allocate 32 5-stars. What that means is these are the 32 players in this class that they are rating to be able to go in the first round in the NFL draft when they're available. So if this class goes to the NFL draft, they think that these will be the 32 guys that will be drafted in the first round. That's the reason why you don't see a bunch of 5-stars. You only see roughly 32. And usually most of the recruiting sites don't get you to 32 until closer to signing day. So by the time we get to signing day, Tatum will most likely be a 5-star at that point, which is, like I said, surprising to me that he's not. He's a top running back in the country, but he's not a 5-star. I think he'll get to that point closer to the signing day. And so that's kind of how the recruiting sites work it. They do that based upon first round probability. So just a little free game for anybody that has any questions about how that looks.
Right. And some of us, we kind of lost in the sauce as it relates to that because, I mean, how does the number one running back only be a 4-star? It kind of didn't make any sense, but yeah, great explanation. But we're both, it's weird because USC and Oklahoma, they got a connection, but they don't have a connection. Connection being that the ex-coach left, and now it's with USC, but they both seem like they kind of on the same path as far as rebuilding. And then you look at that aspect of it. And then as far as going into a different conference. And so it's like we kind of got the same type of moves that are taking place, but we're going in two different directions as far as you going to the SEC, we're going to the Big Ten. So with that being said, what are your thoughts on this SEC move? I mean, looking back now, do you feel like we're excited about it? The travel is kind of something that we're kind of up in the air. We want to know, are they going to add teams? Are they going, to eliminate some of the travel from the West? How are they going to do that? And so, but from the conference standpoint and the brand standpoint with the Big Ten, then the $100 million revenue that's going to be coming out of that, for us, it's like a win-win situation. So we feeling very confident about that. So how are you guys feeling about that with Oklahoma as far as the SEC?
Same, man. We've been recruiting out of the SEC, like I said, the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We've been getting players from Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, blah, blah, Mississippi. We've been getting them from those areas. That's more so where we get them. Oklahoma's not a massive state. We ain't got a whole bunch of people, so we don't produce a whole bunch of players. We produce enough, even enough that Alabama's coming to Oklahoma getting players, Michigan's getting players from Oklahoma and sending them to the NFL. So it happens. But the thing is, us going to the SEC, to me, I think we're ready. And the reason why is Venables. Like, I mean, all the jokes in here about 6 and 7. Hey, y'all can poke fun all you want. I totally get it because you're right. The season did not go the way we wanted. I mean, we had 5 games where we lost by less than 3 points, 3 points or less. So it was more so a depth issue long term for us in those games, and we just needed to get certain things to turn our direction. And if we would have, we would probably had 10 wins if we would have switched around about half of those. We'd been fine. But because we had like 7 games total where we lost by a touchdown or less. If we'd have got half of those back, we're basically right there at 9 to 10 wins for the season, and nobody's making the jokes. But like I said, depth changes and new quarterback changes and new receiver changes. A lot of things change that we had to do. Going into the SEC, we've got a head coach that has won national championships defending SEC offenses. He's gone against Nick Saban. Venables has done a good job with that. He was our DC in 2000 when we won national championship. He's done some really good things on the defensive side, and he's figured out what to do to get the right type of players that can hold up in the SEC too. That's the other thing. When y'all go to the Big Ten, I think a lot of fans don't understand just how much Big Ten and SEC football, they just beat up on each other. Like it's just physically
very similar in the play. And if you watch some, even those like the Outback Bowl, you watch an LSU against a Penn State. Those two teams beat up on each other, and some people are surprised that Penn State comes out. It amazes me, like the Big Ten, those Big Ten teams that play in those bowl games, man. They really, even Iowa against Tennessee, I think for you. I mean, it's like they really have similar style of play, and I'm not sure if our fans really understand that, how similar they are in play, physically wise.
No, you're right, 100%. And I think the big thing that a lot of people don't see out of the way the Big Ten plays football is the Big Ten is very heavy on the run. Like they are a pound type conference, and the reason is they're in the North. It gets cold. Sometimes it's hard to throw that ball. I mean, I'll put you like this. Let me give you guys an NFL analogy. If the Green Bay Packers wanted to win more Super Bowls with Aaron Rodgers, they would have needed to build him a dome. And this is the reason why. When you get into late December and January,
it's crazy out there.
10 to 0 degrees outside, and he's throwing that football. He's not throwing a football anymore. He's throwing a rock at all of those players because that ball is damn near frozen.
And your hand is numb. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. And so because of that, when you saw Green Bay won the Super Bowl the year that Aaron Rodgers won it, they won it on the road. Every game was on the road. Now they played Chicago, and they own Chicago. But they were in Atlanta. They were not playing in the North. That is what helps you win a Super Bowl when you got a quarterback that throws so hard and you're in the cold. So on those northern teams, they run the ball a lot because once it gets cold, the run game is what you're going to rely on the most. Now, the good thing for you all is that you'll have a combination of games in November and December in California while also playing, in these cold weather places. Riley's offense is built to have a very good run game with a quarterback that's going to take over also. So when Caleb's gone, Malachi's going to walk in. He's going to be ready to go. Malachi Nelson's going to be a monster out there for you all in the Big Ten. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten when he gets there next season. So keep that in mind when you go up there. It's going to be a great run for you all. The only thing you got to be concerned about, if anything, and this is the same thing we've had concerns with, is going to be making sure your trenches are deep. You got to have depth on the D-line.
Absolutely.
You got to have depth on the O-line. And I'm not saying a 2 or 3 front. You got to have like a 5. You got to have like
Absolutely.
5 people in the back because that cold weather is going to be a difference maker when the game is played. And depending on how hard Malachi decides to throw the ball, it's going to be a lot of running. And so you got to have them linemen be able to push people around.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things when, as we're looking at the 2024 class recruiting, and we're seeing a little bit of it in the 2023 class, a lot of people say, oh, we got this, we already got an offensive lineman. We need to build depth. We're talking about rotation, even on the defensive line. We're talking about a strong rotation that needs to come in, because when you're talking about having a depth-wise from a defensive line perspective, you got your starters, but your twos are going to be just as effective. But you're going to need these guys coming in and rotating out. I mean, a real good defensive line. If you look at Alabama and all these Georgia, I think they got starters for first and third down, and then they got starters for second and fourth down. They got like a scheme to where these guys come in and out, and that's how they play them, and that's how they stay fresh, and that's how they stay effective as it relates to the defensive line. So I think you're making a great point as it relates to going that move to the Big Ten, man, and it's very, very important. Look, Black says, I just subscribed. He says, to the Unfair Sports. Yeah, we definitely appreciate you. Ryan, let me see if I can get this up here. For those who are just coming in, anything you want to say on that defensive line? Man, I'm trying to get this comment up here. And my computer's down, so I'm a little bit lost in the sauce right now, and I can't hit this stuff.
Yeah, Ryan just popped up here. The Big Ten and SEC are physical as hell, and that's why I think LR has been recruiting linebackers and O linemen, DBs, 6'2" up, etc., and big guys again, big running backs. Yes, Ryan, that was my point. That's why I said you all have been doing a good job with recruiting this year, because if you go look at the type of players he's going after, it's a lot of trenches. It's a lot of it. And don't get it twisted. When he was at Oklahoma, we had a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, with Riley here at Oklahoma. So he knows, and his staff knows that. We've put some players in the NFL on the defensive side as well. It's going to be about getting the bigger ones and more depth in the athleticism or whatnot. And so, yeah, no, Ryan, you're exactly right. That is why you're seeing that in this class, which is going to be dope. And somebody may mention being from Michigan is 45 in November. Cool story, bro. A lot of these games are going into December now, especially when you get to the playoffs. That's where the difference is going to change. That's what the difference is going to be. I remember watching it snow Ohio State, Michigan in that game up there in Michigan before. I've seen snow games. I've seen it
one time like that. Yeah.
So you're going to have moments where it's going to be like, oh, shoot, we're up here in Penn State and it's snowing in all white. That's why you see a difference. That's why it's such a physical game. So yeah, it's going to be fun watching these mega conferences built. If anything, I'm curious about what all of these what these schedules are going to look like. I think that's the thing that's really intriguing.
You guys' schedule came out, right?
Yeah, well, so we've got our opponents who we're going to play. So we've got Alabama coming to the crib. We've got Tennessee, South Carolina, and then we got our neutral site game versus Texas down at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. It's a 3-hour drive for both of us, so it's like the middle point. They've done that Red River game there for since the beginning of time. And then we'll travel to LSU, which I've been to Death Valley. I went to the LSU Tennessee game. My daughter goes to college at LSU. And so it was fun going down there and checking out Death Valley because it was dope. And I cannot wait to get there for the OU game because I'm hoping it's a night game because night games at LSU is amazing, but it's a hostile environment. And then outside of that, man, there's a game to be concerned with. LSU, Bama's going to be huge. But even seeing y'all, who do y'all have set up for y'all 2024 schedule so far?
I don't have a put up, but I do. I'll say this: I kind of know the schedule somewhat. As I stated, my computer's down, but I think I know we open up with LSU. We open up with LSU in Las Vegas, which is incredible. And we don't play Ohio State, but we do have Michigan at home. We have Michigan at home, and we have I think we have Wisconsin at home, which is thank God for that. Because
hey,
we already know what time it is out there, man.
Boy, middle of nowhere. But also having Luke Fickell, who's played in a playoff game as well when he's at Cincinnati.
He's incredible. He's an incredible coach, man.
He really is. He really is. He's really slept on. I think it's gonna be fun watching y'all play in the Big Ten.
I think we play Penn State. We go to Penn State. Of course, the Penn State has the big whiteout game, and so it's going to be kind of it's going to be crazy, man. James Franklin is a great, phenomenal coach as well. You have something you want to say?
I was going to say, are you going up to Happy Valley? Because that is the one stadium I want
all these
to go
stadiums
to.
Now, all these stadiums now are like, these are on my bucket list now. I mean, and this is one of the things that I brought up to on a different show. Michigan, the Big House, Ohio State, the Horseshoe. These are like historical places, going to Happy Valley, going to Madison, Wisconsin. They play that big jump around song. It goes absolutely crazy up in there. So to me, this is like, not only do we get to take incredible vacation and see historical places from a football standpoint that I've always admired from afar, and now we get to tap in with these places. It's like, man, it's going to be straight up go time, man. I mean, it's going to be amazing, man.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, well, so, Smooth over here saying, SC needs to get a quarterback from the Midwest who's used to playing in the cold. Nah, I think y'all be all right. No. Bryce Young Bryce Young played mainly in the South, but CJ Stroud.
Thank you. You about to take the words right out of my mouth. He's from Southern California, man.
Right.
California.
I think Malachi's built enough to be able to do that. But no, I'm looking at your schedule. You travel to Maryland. You got Northwestern. You travel to Northwestern, which is in the Chicago area. You travel to Penn State. You travel to Purdue. And then you have the at game versus UCLA, which is up the street around the corner. But then Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin comes to town, which is dope. That's awesome. And because I think by then, Luke Fickell will be started to really doing some stuff at Wisconsin, and so we'll be able to see what he's got going. And we don't know if Jim Harbaugh is going to still be at Michigan, since every year he's in the conversation to hit that to go to the NFL because he's been to a Super Bowl. Makes sense why everybody wants to consider him. But no, I think Big Ten wise, you guys will be fine. I mean, Lincoln knows how to get the right quarterbacks to make that happen because, truth be told, you can do a lot with everything else on the team, but if you ain't got a generational quarterback, it's going to be it's an uphill battle. And that's the good thing about Lincoln is he knows how to find those generational talent quarterbacks and make the magic happen.
And they gravitate towards him, man, which is surprisingly why the Dylan Raiola thing, it played out the way it played out. It really surprised me when you look at Kyler Murray, when you look at Jalen Hurts, when you look at even Spencer Rattler, when you look at all the quarterbacks that gravitated toward him, that kind of shocked me, man. What is your thoughts on that? And we get into all kind of stuff, but it's football talk now.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck for you all when it comes to the Dylan Raiola piece. It might be a good thing he didn't come to USC, and I'm not throwing any shade at the young man.
No. Well, I've talked off camera to some individuals about this. I'm not going to elaborate on that.
I'm going to say this. This is the reason why I said it. Go look at all the 5-star quarterbacks Georgia's ever had in the last 10 years and tell me one of them.
Justin Fields is the only one. Justin Fields is the only.
No.
He transferred.
Tell me one that lasted at Georgia is my point. They got a 5-star Brock Vandegrift who's probably not going to play. And that was a Lincoln Riley recruit. Like Lincoln was recruiting Brock hard to come to Oklahoma. He may not even play. Then you go down the line, Jacob Eason. Jake Fromm was a 5-star, I think on 24/7 at the time. Justin Fields, who ended up transferring. JT Daniels at USC
He
transferred to Georgia,
he
didn't make it either.
Yeah.
And he's still in
Yeah.
college football, y'all. Did y'all know that JT Daniels is still in college football? That man's at
Man,
Rice now.
Man, he's playing there.
Still playing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he went to Georgia. Then from Georgia, he went to West Virginia. West Virginia, he's now at Rice. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
And this point here, right here, is Black make this point. Matt Stafford's the only one that stayed. Did they win a national championship with Matt Stafford?
Yeah,
my point.
Exactly.
Which is my point. They won 2 titles with Stetson Bennett at quarterback, who was a walk-on twice.
Yeah,
twice time walk-on, not one time, twice time. So it's intriguing that he chose Georgia, and now he's transferred to go to high school at Buford, Georgia. He's going to play high school in the state of Georgia, and they're probably going to use him as a recruiting tool, which makes sense. Buford, Georgia has been a pipeline for Alabama, and I talked about it on my channel recently with my guy Ty Hayes from Around the Table Sports. He does great content too. He's at like 20,000 subs. Alabama guy. He was talking about how Bama's pipeline has been Buford for years, and getting him in there, that's going to be Georgia trying to take away from what Bama usually goes after. Plus, there's 2 5-stars there in Edric Houston as well as KJ Bolden, who probably is going to get worked on by Raiola. So besides that, I my only concern is that I need Georgia to show me that they can take a 5-star quarterback. Now they have a new OC and actually do something with it. Until they do that, I don't know.
That OC was actually already there, right? Bobo? Is it Bobo?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's who it is. But he was already there, so they just kind of I guess he's just going to assume the duties, but we'll see how he does as far as taking over with that. But while we on, you talked about Nick Saban. What are your thoughts on him? In his latest, real quick, and we're gonna get out of here.
All right.
he's been kind of. How do you explain it? He's been kind of. I'm not gonna say lost. He's lost in the sauce. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, go ahead and say it, dog. You know you gotta say it. You got to, man.
All the sauce right now, and I don't know. I don't know if it's because of Kirby's edge right now. Let's give it up for Kirby. Kirby Smart's doing a phenomenal job with Georgia, and he took a playbook out of Nick Saban's. It looks like Nick Saban has never caught back up, man. What's your thoughts on what's happening with Nick Saban right now as far as that?
So, I mean, as much as I would love to say that the empire is fallen, I would love to say it. I'm not going to be that naive, because you got to remember, even though all the bad stuff that happened, Alabama signed 9 5-stars last year. They're fine. Georgia got them on a few, but you signed 9 5-stars, and one of them, Caleb Downs from Buford, Georgia, who's going to start at safety. Yeah, he just needs to read some retooling. I think the biggest problem that Alabama had was the offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. And we talked about this a little bit earlier in the stream. If anybody wants to go back and hear my slight, as a very short rant, you may not find it, but I'm going to reiterate myself. Bill O'Brien is an NFL guy. He's a Bill Belichick disciple. He's one of those players. It's kind of like when Alabama had Daboll at offensive coordinator, the one year that Jalen Hurts got SEC like freshman of the year or whatever, and offensive player of the year. Daboll, who's the head coach of the Giants, was the offensive coordinator at Bama too. He's a Belichick guy. Belichick and Saban basically trade guys. They're that tight. And so when you bring in Bill O'Brien into a scenario where he's running a pro style offense, good point, Rays. Mills Creek. I think he played at Buford, if I'm correct, but I digress. When you run that pro style offense, there's decisions made by the wide receivers. And this is no shade to any college wide receiver, but you will understand my point with this, because only the top 1% of people make it to the NFL and actually last in the NFL. When you give receivers too many options, they're going to make the wrong option most of the time. And that's kind of how Bill O'Brien's offense was set. So if you go back and watch some of the film, me and my boy Ty from Around the Table went and watched a little bit, and he was pointed out. He's like, dude, they would run out and all of them run a six yard curl. You're running a 6-yard curl. If all your receivers are running the same route, they all made the wrong decision. Somebody was supposed to go read the safety and make a different play. And then you got Bryce Young trying to basically ad-lib from then on. He's getting chased by defensive linemen. You can't give these players too many decisions at this young age. They just haven't matured experience-wise. Now, your transcendent players can do that. You will see the Marvin Harrisons of the world that can go out there and do that on their own and figure it out and make the magic happen. Devontae Smith, in which the reason why he won Heisman. But there's not that many 1%ers. It's rare that you're going to get a 1%er at all three starting positions at wide receiver and at tight end that can make those decisions like they're supposed to. So their biggest problem was having him there for 2 years. Now that they're moving more to a college-based offense, I think they'll be fine, and Saban's going to lock things up on defense like he normally does, bringing in Kevin Steele, and I think Saban's going to oversee it because I'm really thinking Jeremy Pruitt's going to get the job once they figure out what his suspension is going to be from the NCAA due to his Tennessee scandal. I expect them to be back to, I don't think they're going to be a juggernaut though, but I think they're going to be back to being the Bama we're used to. Because the funny thing is that if we believe that 2 losses is bad, Bama's still good.
Yeah. And I will say this: it was very surprising that they wouldn't picked up Tommy Rees from Notre Dame, and I was kind of shocked at that. I mean, he had a pretty good offensive scheme. We played against him, we beat him this year, but I thought they would pursue somebody else, somebody that had a little bit more of a maybe somewhat of an air raid offense. I don't know, but. Just to kind of translate well to college football a little more. But Tommy Rees is kind of a basic. He's in my opinion, he's kind of an NFL type offense, if you will.
Yeah, it's pro style. It is pro style, but he has very creative routes. And if you have the right quarterback, let's put it like this: go look at Lincoln Riley's offense. The really big thing with the Lincoln Riley offense is that he makes it really easy for his quarterbacks to make decisions. Makes it really easy, and he also makes it to where and I was listening to Joel Klatt. He broke down the Riley offense and how it works. Fantastic. Joel Klatt is amazing at doing that, by the way. Just go listen to him talk about it. But the decisions that Lincoln Riley kind of makes it to where the players he kind of makes it for him in a capacity. He's that much of a genius. He's like your Sean McVays of the world, like your Kyle Shanahans of the world. He will make Garrett Riley does the same thing. Is he makes the decision for the quarterback for the most part.
He's a star. He's a superstar.
Right. Just brain wise. And then of course the quarterback can adjust as he sees he needs to make those adjustments. And so the wide receivers don't have to think as much, but all the concepts are similar, but the routes are different. They changed it up so much. So it's really hard to fit. It's easy to scheme somebody wide open. That's the beauty of what Riley does. And so as mentioned in the comments, as long as Riley's to get the guys that he wants, y'all be fine.
Yeah.
Be concerned with. And I think Bama's going to be back where they were. I don't think they win a national championship in the next 2 years, maybe 3. I put it like that way.
Right. Shout out to my man USC Priority. He says this will be Raiola's first look at real competition in high school football. Oh yeah, he came from Arizona. It wasn't like yeah. We'll see what happens with that. But look, man, I didn't want to keep him. I didn't want to keep Jay, man. We definitely appreciate. And as you guys see, look, everybody, my computer's down. I'm actually on the phone right now. I'm lost in sweet and sour sauce right now, so I can't put this stuff in the chat. But Jay is from Unfair Sports, and as you guys can see, very phenomenal speaker, man. He does an awesome job. He does his due diligence as far as his homework. We're gonna have him back on again. We might have to do a post Taylor Tatum deal going up there because right now it's all the crystal balls are coming out for Taylor Tatum to Oklahoma. That's why I brought him on. We wanted to discuss that. We wanted to get his thoughts. And for those who didn't see it, you guys got to go back and watch it. He gave us some details as far as what they call it, Championship Barbecue Weekend. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, Champion Barbecue is what they call it.
Yeah, he gave us some details on that, on how everything happened, and his surprise for the crystal balls to start coming out with Taylor Tatum. We kind of gave detailed account on that. Kind of did the timeline as well. So, man, we just wanted to give you this information because right now, one of the number one running back in the country, it's up in the air, trending one way, and I'm keeping the faith. You already know I'm keeping the faith. So. Look, man, this is Jay. Jay, anything before we get out of here, man? And once again, I definitely appreciate everything that you've done, man. You invited me on last year. Really appreciate that. Wanted to bring you on, and this was the perfect time. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Hey, man, I appreciate just coming to hang out with y'all, man. I posted in the chat. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and the bell notification so you can know when USCJ is going online. It was fun. I appreciate the trolling. I am a college football fan just like y'all. So, fun banter is always great. I try to make sure that even though I am quote unquote biased, I try to add at least a little factual facts behind what I talk about, and I like to have fun, man. So y'all have been great. I appreciate you having me on, bro. We'll do it again soon. Like I said, I'm gonna have you on my show soon, and we'll cross collab a lot more here in the future.
Absolutely, man. So look, until later on, listen, we still got recruiting news. Hey, Jay, hold on for a sec. Hey, we still got recruiting news, and we're going to give you updates as far as the commitments. And look, until later on, everybody stay blessed. Don't forget, make sure you get up, get out, and make some things happen. Until later on, fight on, fight on, fight on.